Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie.
I think even truly introverted people still need to not live on an island.
And that's the thing too. A lot of people think introversion means shy, and that's not what it means. In psychology, introversion just means that it's you essentially recharge your batteries by being, alone. And an extrovert recharges their batteries by being around people. One fun example that a mentor of mine shared was, you're an introvert, and then someone's like, how do I know that? And he says, when you get called saying the plans are canceled, you feel relieved. You feel kind of happy about the fact that the plans were canceled, that the party was, and it's like, maybe there's something about it that you didn't want to go for whatever the reason. But the extrovert and the introvert can both be on a stage giving a talk to 50,000 people, and they'll both be just as skilled. The challenge for the introvert is after the talk is over, if they were to walk down into the crowd and be surrounded by a million people and be having a conversation, that could be really draining. But they're not shy. Like, that's got nothing to do with being introverted. And so I think from that perspective, as you said, if somebody thinks being introverted is the reason why they can't connect with people, that's a story. And that's just limiting them. It's holding themselves back. Only reason why you can't connect with people is because you're not willing to connect with people. Only reason why you can't connect with people is because you tell yourself stories about what connecting with them would mean. Oh, if I connect with them and I tell them what's going on in my life, what if they judge me? What if they think that, oh my God, he or she's got problems? But they got problems too. And they're probably thinking the same thing, that they don't have anyone that they can talk to, that they can trust, that they can open up to. And it's such a amazing feeling that when you connect with somebody over real stuff, what's actually happening. But again, nobody wants to be in a room of complainers. It's not a matter of just complaining about it. It's releasing and sharing what's happening from a really heartfelt place, but then being open to a solution, being open to their perspective, maybe asking for some feedback. What do you think I should do? What do you think would be helpful? Or it's like, I'm thinking about doing these 3 things. I think those could be helpful. What do you think? Now it's like this really productive conversation where I share what's on my heart, you share what's on your heart. We both feel so much better because we feel connected to each other. We both feel like we're not alone. And then we also like kind of swap perspectives on what we think the other could do. And even if it's not that, sometimes we just want the other person to hold space for us. I'm somebody that I benefit tremendously from having somebody just hold space for me. I can talk for, this, I can talk forever, but I can talk for an hour. And if someone's just listening to me throughout that hour, I could solve my own problem and I could come up with everything that I needed. All I needed was someone to listen. All I needed was to talk about it. So sometimes that might be what you need. And if that's the case, you tell the other person, hey, can you do me a favor? I don't need any perspective. I would just love it if you could listen to me, because I don't have someone to listen to me right now. And just having like that it's like you're being a mirror for me. I'm speaking it out loud, and just being in your presence will be really helpful. Other people, they welcome the perspective. They want the opinion. They want to know that. Then you ask for that. But at the end of the day, choosing to connect with people and not buying into any story about why you can't, knowing that everybody's got problems, and knowing that, I'm going to rephrase that. So I think that, and I believe I talked about this in the real estate event that we did, problems in and of themselves don't exist, because problems are just concepts. Problems are things that we give meaning to. Everybody has situations, because I don't want to say everyone has problems and then kind of buy into it. Everybody has situations, and those situations can be really hard based on where the individual's at. Now, there are certain things that are hard for you that are easy for other people. And there's certain things that are easy for them, hard for them that are for you. So because of that, it's not the thing itself that's the problem. It's us in relation to it. So then it turns into, I've got this situation and it's really hard for me right now, given the way I'm looking at it, given what I'm feeling. So it's like saying, given the fact that I feel like I'm all alone, given the fact that I feel like this is going to last forever, given the fact that I don't know what to do, I have a problem. I have a challenge. But once people, we realize we're not alone. So then that one goes away. And then once we realize this won't last forever, that goes away. I almost gave you the middle finger, so I'm going to fix that. But the point being that as I first podcast, I flipped somebody off. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, I'm reading between the lines.
Yeah. I think when we can just reconnect to this fact that I've got situations that aren't serving me. I've got situations that are tough right now. And again, I don't mean to ever be disrespectful and take that away from anybody. When I say there's not a problem, I don't say that as in like everyone who's listening doesn't have challenges and hard things. But just be aware of how you define things. When you say, I have problems, it doesn't feel too good usually for most people. And that doesn't really serve you. But, I have situations. We all have situations. That's all there is. It's only situations. And there's situations that are inspiring me and serving me, and there's situations that aren't. What can I do about the situations that aren't serving me, that aren't helping me, that are draining me of energy, that I'm not feeling good about, to improve that? If there's something I can do it. If I actually can't do anything about it, it reminds me of a quote by the Dalai Lama where he says, if something can be done, then there's no need to worry. And if nothing can be done, then worry is of no use. If you can do something about it, why are you worried? Go do it. But if you actually can't do anything about it, why are you worried? It's not going to help. If you actually can't do anything about it, then worrying is useless.
Wow. But we don't think about it that way.
Yeah, but we could. Just because we don't.
Yeah, no, it takes me back to like what Jeff is always saying about I never have a bad day. For those of you that don't know, just look up Jeff Holst on, he's probably all over YouTube with his never has a bad day mantra. But he said that, I guess one day he just decided, I'm not going to have any more bad days. And he's like in such a habit now that things that would absolutely derail me, he's just like,
Yeah. And notice though that, Jeff is an amazing guy, and notice that not having a bad day, it's not, oh, wow, what a lucky guy. I wish I was like that. Not having a bad day is a choice, because just like problems don't exist, bad days don't exist. Only days exist. Only situations exist. We choose if they're good or bad. But if we give the way, oh, it's a bad day because it's raining. For somebody else, it's the greatest thing in the world that it's raining. So it can't be the rain. Yeah, there's challenges, there's hardships. Hard things are happening. I get it. And how can you learn from it? What can you get from it? How can you grow from it? How can you be better? And even if you can't find any of that, how can you just get through it so it's done, so you can find something beautiful to focus on? But you don't have to sit with it and dwell with it. And so, yeah, that decision, if I were to ask you, do you speak Japanese? What would you say to that?
no,
Why don't you speak Japanese?
because I've never learned it.
There it is. And why haven't you learned it?
No reason to.
Yeah, so it's like you haven't chosen to, and it comes down to I haven't put the time and attention necessary into learning Japanese, right? And it's not you don't speak Japanese because you're just not that kind of person. It's not you don't speak Japanese because you're not capable of it. You're bad with languages. You're speaking English.
The situation hadn't come around.
Exactly, yeah. Like someone could say, I'm not good with languages. Well, in this case, you're speaking English just fine. You just that if you tell yourself the story, I'm bad with languages, you won't go to learn a language, or you'll give up early. If you say, I don't speak Japanese because I'm just not that kind of person, that doesn't make any sense. In the same way, though, why don't you speak Japanese? Because I haven't given it the time and attention to learn it. Why do you not have more good days? Or why does Jeff not have bad days? Because he puts the time and attention into creating a life and a mindset and a perspective that doesn't allow bad days to happen. That doesn't mean there aren't hardships. It doesn't mean there aren't disappointments. It means he doesn't dwell on them. It means he moves forward regardless of the hardship. That took effort. That was that was a habit in the same way that learning Japanese would be. And so once we realize a way of being that we really resonate with, wow, I love the way that person's being. Wow, inspiring. You can only recognize it what's already there present for you. If you were being really courageous and I saw that, I said, wow, look at Angel. She's being so courageous right now. I only recognize that because I know what courage is. I know what courage looks like. I know what it means to be courageous, so I can recognize it in you. In the same way that if I was speaking Japanese and you didn't speak Japanese, I'm just making noise. Like you don't know what I'm saying. But if you speak Japanese, it's in you. You can understand me. Anything that inspires you, it's already in you. Now it's just a matter of choosing it. Your life can be so different, moment by moment by moment, by choosing. We kind of bringing it full circle again. We talked about making a meaningful decision, meaningful choices in this moment, not focusing on 50 steps ahead. What's the next meaningful decision I can make? And if I just do that and I keep my eyes open, and when I see people in my life that inspire me for whatever the reason, what is it about them that inspires me specifically? And then how can I adopt that? How can I add that into my life? And then when we start doing that, initially it's unfamiliar because we haven't done it. So it might be uncomfortable. It might just feel like it's not us or it's not normal, but it's just because we haven't practiced it. Anything you practice, you get good at. If you practice being miserable, you get more misery. You practice stressing out, you get more stressed. You practice joy, you get more joyful.
Wow. That's so I saw another person post, trying to think who, I think it was Jeremy Goodrich was posting that you know, he's got 2 books he's wanting to read, Atomic Habits, and I forget what the other one was, but I remember Atomic Habits because Jason read it a while back and was like, you need to read this book. And he said it's I think you could benefit from the self-talk that's in the book and how it gets you to say things like, I'm a runner, that's why I run.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't run because I hate running, I run because I'm a runner. And changing the self-talk. And so, you know, if you're wanting to be more open-minded or you're wanting to deal better with a situation, I guess you could just tell yourself, I deal well with these situations, because your brain doesn't know what's true and not.
Well, the thing is that behavior follows identity. Who you see yourself to be, which is not ever permanent. The person who says, I run because I'm a runner, at some point they can decide they're not a runner anymore and they'll stop running. They're not a runner because they were born a runner. Like they chose to be a runner. In the same way I said earlier with the gladiator metaphor, you know, I do tough things because I'm tough. That's what tough people do. Like you could tell yourself that. And it's the same thing as I'm a runner, so I run, you know? And so just like you said, you know, the runner decides it's not I run when I feel like it. It's I'm a runner. And what do runners do? They run. So I'm going to go run. It's like if I'm a gladiator, what do gladiators do? They fight challenges and they win. And so if that's who I am, then whenever challenges show up, I show up too to fight them, knowing with the full confidence that it's like I'm going to take this thing down. And that could be the metaphor somebody uses, but whatever metaphor works for them, your identity always follows your behavior. The person who says I'm a smoker, what do smokers do? They smoke. But the person who tries to quit smoking and then is like 40 days into quitting, but they still see themselves as a smoker. I'm a smoker who hasn't smoked in 40 days. So as long as that identity remains, life just needs to get a little bit more challenging and create some more stress in them. And at some point in the right environment and conditions, they're going to pick it up again and they're going to start smoking. The people who actually changed, when I've helped people quit smoking in the past, we shift their identity. I am not a smoker. So from that place, it could be 2 days later, somebody offers you a cigarette. It's not, oh no, thank you. You know, it's, I don't smoke. You know, I don't smoke. So if I'm at a party and someone offers me a cigarette, it's not challenging to say no. that is not who I identify as. That is not me. And the people I've helped quit smoking, that's what happens. They shift their identity. I am not a smoker, so I don't smoke, period. And a lot of the willpower that isn't needed anymore. In the same way, I'm a runner. So it doesn't matter if I feel like running, like that's what I do. And so it's like, how do we see ourselves? How do we choose to see ourselves in order to meet our challenges in the best way possible? You know, we get to create our identity every single day.
Wow.
If somebody could say, as an example, I use this metaphor, you know, it's not a metaphor, but I use this all the time. If I were to say to somebody, I'll use you as an example since I'm speaking with you. If you were to say to yourself, I am the world's greatest mother. And if you were to, that's your identity, just like I'm a runner. Let's say that's your identity. You internalize that. I am the world's greatest mother. So then the follow-up question is, what would the world's greatest mother do in this situation that I'm in right now? I am the most loving spouse on the planet. Interesting. So what would the most loving and understanding, let's say, spouse do in this situation right now where you're upset with your spouse? They would act very differently than you in a grudging, resentful space, you know? And so when we ask ourselves these questions, you know, it's like, I am the greatest community leader in my organization or in my Facebook group or in my whatever. Well, how would that version of you show up? That version of you is going to act different than the way you're acting now. And if you live into it, you become it. So when you say, I'm the world's greatest mom, it's not a comparison thing, it's a declaration. Because what would happen if you and every other mom on the planet made that declaration and lived into it? If every father on the planet said, I am the greatest father in the world to my kids and to my family, and they actually lived it as if it was true. Is it a comparison of, I'm the greatest? No, I'm the greatest. And everyone's like yelling at each other? No. It's each person makes the commitment to be the greatest. And now it's like the rising tide lifts all boats. All you need to do is make that commitment to be whatever it is that you want to be as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, as a whatever. And anyone who's listening, any role that you play, make a compelling commitment, an identity around that, and live into it and ask, what would that version of me do? If I was this, how would I behave right now? If I was this, how would I respond to this situation? Because the like primal version of me that's more ego-based might react in this situation, and that reaction might not be too pretty. It might not serve me. I might regret it in an hour with what I'm going to say or what I would do. But this identity version of me, the greatest mom, the greatest spouse, the greatest business owner, the greatest whatever, or the most resourceful. Imagine that. I am the most resourceful business owner on the planet. Well, that's a powerful one, because right then and there, any problem that you think you have that you don't have a solution to, the moment you step into that identity, you find a solution. Why? Because you're resourceful. But you were always resourceful. You just weren't tuning into it. And so I think the way every day I create myself with my identity practice, and I have all my clients do that, and the ones that usually it's toward the beginning, middle of the process of us working together. And so some of the early ones who might be listening, it's coming. And the ones that are already doing it, they know the power of it. When you create that identity every single day and you live into it, your whole life shifts in such a powerful way.
Wow. I really like the resourceful one.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
I highly recommend you use it. You borrow it. It's yours. No trademark. It's yours.
Wow. I know it's I don't know. I've never even really thought about it that way. I mean, I've heard though that like if you repeat things over and over to yourself, so like tell the story of what you want to be in life, and you listen to it every day, your brain makes it happen. You know, and I was one of the Clothier brothers was talking about it, saying, you know, he wanted to eventually get to a point where he was on the beach, on a skateboard, doing whatever every day. And one day he realized he was by the beach on a skateboard, living the life that he had told himself he was going to live. And he's like, it just happened.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
so that makes it stronger too. Wow. Sorry, something just clicked, because if you identify as anything, then that becomes who you are.
How does that insight, how does that click change everything?
13's tough. um, in society in general, it's like a weird level of acceptance.
Mm.
Weird is not the way to put it, but like,
Yeah.
it's almost like you have to accept everything or you're a bad person. But if you can step into any identity, then it's not good or bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's never people make it this way usually, but it's not a matter of being good or bad or right or wrong. It's more a matter of what is the identity that I can shift into, because they're all me. Every one of those identities is a possibility that you could tap into. You might have not tapped into it for time or most of your life, and if you haven't tapped into it, it doesn't feel like you. But it's not because it's not. It's just because you haven't chosen it. If I speak English my whole life, it feels weird to speak Italian. It's only because I've been speaking English my whole life. Once I get used to speaking Italian, now I speak both, and that's just normal. That's just how it is. Until I decide, you know what? Let's throw Japanese in there too, and then it's normal. It's weird in the beginning, and then it's normal. In the same way, what's the identity that I want to incorporate into who I am, into who I'm being, and how I'm showing up in the world? And in the beginning, it might be a little weird because you're not used to it. But when you bring that to it, you solve problems so much more effectively. I'm gonna just stop the video for a second, just because the connection seems to be a little bit off. But just in kind of in closing, I hope that people who are listening, whether you listen to this once or a new perspective, a new insight that this brought on a way you can approach any of your situations, no matter what you're dealing with and going through. And again, just bringing home the main points that you're not alone, that there's people out there that you can connect to by choosing to connect to them and by choosing to share and by holding space for people to do the same. That level of connection deepens, knowing that you're not alone, that separation is only an illusion. It creates so much more feelings of like, I can do this. And then knowing that it's not going to last. All hard times change. You've survived every hard time you've been through up until this point, and it won't be any different going forward. But also, how are you defining yourself? How are you showing up? And what identities could you choose to take on that would make the actions so much easier? The runner doesn't need to think about running. Running is what they do. In the same way, what identity could you take on to effectively do what you need to do? And from that place, life here. And if I can support anybody at all in this process, feel free to reach out. I'm sure Angel has she has links or contact info she can point you to, but you can message me directly on Facebook. I'm on there, just my name, Jamil Sayegh, and I would love to have a conversation and see what's holding you back and see how you're creating that in your mind and how we can shift that, free you from that, so you can move forward without the shackles. You can move forward and actually be free and actually enjoy your life and create the results you want to create from a happy place, not from a place of so I can get happy.
Man, thank you so much for coming on today and just being here for the audience that's listening and for me. I do think everything happens for a reason. And so I think that the fact that this was your date to be on, was something that needed to happen for me. So thank you to the universe or to whatever's out there that made it happen. But yeah, I'll be selfish. This was for me. But we're not alone. So
we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about earlier, if one person benefits, it was completely worth it. If that one person is you, I'm deeply happy that we spent this time together. And if hopefully other people who are listening found some benefit as well, then this was time well spent.
Awesome. For those of you out there, this is, I always say your name wrong. This is Dr. Jamil Sayegh. Sayegh. Okay. And when this goes live, I'll make sure that all the links are in there for him too. But great guy, amazing stuff going on. And just reach out. And I'll see y'all next time.